Let me start, and I deliberately wanted to begin with Dr. Arthur Thomas, born and reared in Philadelphia, taught elementary school, junior high school, and then, of course, went on to be a celebrated university president at a historically black college, Central State University.
When you see me in a bear fight, help the bear, because I am going to be kicking the bear's ass. We are at war today, and the battlefield is the classroom.
I want you to always remember, ladies and gentlemen, and never forget that knowledge is power. A person can take your life, a person can take your car, a person can take your clothing, a person can take from you any worldly possession that you have, but they can never, ever, ever take from you what you have in your head. That's yours. That goes to the grave with you. Knowledge is power. You don't realize how brilliant you are. Y'all have to class, just listen. I know I'm bad.
The men in my family died young. It had a profound impact on me. My mother's name was Janie Rebecca Canny. She later became Janie Rebecca Canny Thomas because she married my father.
Baby, you hurt me.
My father would beat my mother. I was only about 5 years old, and my heart was becoming enlarged because I would watch her being beaten, and there was nothing I could do about it. He was a sorry ass, no good, do nothing. He wasn't worth shit. And I was determined not to be like him. Now, I may have developed one of his traits. I've always been fond of the lady. And I saw these fine sisters on the train, and they were all going to Central State.
Just walk up to your lady and look her straight in the eye and say, hey, baby, come go with me to the library.
In Philadelphia, it was rough during the summer because you weren't in school. So my mother sent us to South Carolina. So when I got there, my granddaddy had this little shack, and he had newspaper on the wall instead of wallpaper, holes in the roof, these little quilts that had been made up, and he was a sharecropper. He had cotton fields where cotton had to be picked. He had an old mule named Pet. He had a cow down there with a broken leg. He had to work to try to keep the cow from dying, but he eventually had to shoot the cow. And what I really hated was he had this old rotten, run-down, stinking outhouse where you had to go to the bathroom, and that really did bother me. And then he had the nerve to tell me that he wanted me to pick some cotton. So I said, man, I ain't down here to pick no cotton. So he snatched one of those switches and started wailing on my behind. And he said, you go pick some cotton here, boy. I didn't like picking cotton, man. That wasn't my thing. My cousin said, man, you mighty dumb. Anybody can pick cotton.
The body was shipped home, back north to Chicago, where Mamie Till Bradley insisted on an open casket funeral. So all the world can see, she said, what they did to my boy.
When I saw Emmett Till's picture in the open casket in Jet magazine, I was terrified at what happened to a person that was almost the same age as I was.
At the time, the murder left an indelible mark on the African American community, especially for those boys who were around the same age as Emmett Till.
I was terrified by the fact that my mother had sent me to South Carolina on several occasions, and the same thing could have happened to me that happened to Emmett Till. And I said, there must be something in my lifetime that I can do to fight this. With Trayvon Martin, it's the same thing as Emmett Till. Things have not changed. Just a year, just a method. Now they've legalized it where a white boy can shoot somebody and use the law as an excuse to get away with it.
In Texas, they're cleaning up history. They're saying slavery didn't really exist. And that's what they're doing. They're cleaning it up. Sanitizing slavery.
The Army let me see that all white people were not bad.
And that's why we've got to learn our history. And while you're learning your history, understand that we've always had white friends, white people that hung in there with us no matter what. I'm talking about Thad Stevens and Charles Sumner. I'm talking about John F. Kennedy and Robert Kennedy and Lyndon Baines Johnson. I'm talking about Hubert Humphrey. You need to remember those names.
This was back in 1956. I became friends with some white boys from Alabama, from Georgia, from South Carolina, because we were all in this MP garrison together.
When I was in the 8th grade, a teacher told me I was bad, I was dumb, I was no good, I would never be any good, and I would end up in jail like the rest of my bum friends. That's what he said.
When people called me dumb, I did believe it. It affected my approach toward life. It made me not strive for goals that I would probably have strived for if I had more confidence in myself.
I started going to the library. I started reading everything I could get my hands on. And when I got my bachelor's degree from Central State University, where I'm now the head man in charge of everything. In charge, in charge, in charge.
And I sent that sucker a copy of my bachelor's degree from Central State University. I sent the sucker a copy of my master's degree, and I sent the sucker a copy of my doctorate from the University of Massachusetts at Amherst.
I was feeling a little bad, Mr. President, because my grandson Jason told me, Doc, you can't work the computer. Doc, you can't work the Xbox. Doc, you can't speak Spanish. Doc, you're a dumb doctor, man. But let me give you an example of how I work with these kids. Kid came into my office. He was about 12. He said, Mr. Thomas, the teacher keep messing with me. And the next time the teacher messed with me, I'm gonna mess with the teacher. I said, sit your ass.
I said, be cool, little brother. Be cool. Because if you hit the teacher, you're going to jail. So this is what we're going to do.
So we practiced a program, a plan, a strategy, just like practicing for the Christmas play. And my man went back to school and he was ready. Teacher said, sit down, boy, and shut up. But he was cool. He didn't say one word for 20 minutes.
And then raised his hand, and the teacher said, what do you want? And he responded by saying,
Mrs. Jones, you have psychologically dehumanized me to the extent that I may never be able to adequately function again as a human being. And unless you refrain from treating me in such a manner, I may have no alternative but to take you to the United States District Court and charge you with a psychological tort, a mental injury, because the insensitive teachers like you continue to brutalize potentially brilliant individuals like me. You destroy my life's chances.
And then he sat back down, and Miss Jones did not fuck with my man anymore. Now, I can change the F-U-C-K to the mess if you want me to. Now, I'll tell you where this paid off. This paid off in terms of the way I treated students. I don't believe in this business about you being too dumb, being an imbecile, being an idiot.
You don't realize how brilliant you are. There's the any problem in this world that exists in this auditorium right here, right now.
Folks telling me how bad I was and how dumb I was inspired me to let other folks know that I understood their predicament.
I mean, I taught Joe that Christopher Columbus was lost, so he wasn't running around thinking white folks were superior. I told him the cat was lost, man.
I was married to Betty for 20. I was married 3 times. I was trying my best to be successful. I was trying to be a good husband. I was trying to fight the civil rights movement at the same time. So I just wanted somebody to understand what I was trying to do and to be sympathetic to what I was trying to do. But I can't be in 2 places at one time.
I know the 90-day plan works. First 90 days I was married to my pretty wife. She's bad, she's fine. I tried to impress upon her the fact that I planned to be a good husband. So I got into the habit of fixing her coffee every morning at 6:30 a.m. and serving my pretty baby her coffee while she was still in bed. I fixed the coffee for 90 days. I have been fixing the coffee for 20 years. Nobody told us that this road would be easy. You know, I'm a Kappa, but I work for Alphas, and I work for Sigmas, and I work for Omegas, and I've been married to a Delta and a AKA.
And this administration today, here and now, declares unconditional war on poverty in America.
When I was assistant principal at McFarland Elementary School, President Johnson wanted to rebuild the cities and wanted to do something for poor and oppressed people. There was a Model Cities Planning Council at that time. The Model Cities Planning Council was designed to get people from the community to come up with programs to improve the community. So I was looked upon as an outstanding educator in the city of Dayton, and the Model Cities Planning Council selected me to be education program coordinator.
Frankie Beverly would say, ladies and gentlemen, I can tell by the look in your eye that you are the most brilliant, the most fantastic, the most dynamite, the most out-of-sight young folks on the face of this earth. Give yourselves a hand, please.
I don't like to call them riots. When the rebellions broke out in Dayton, they needed somebody that could relate to the students. White folks couldn't relate to them. The elderly black folks couldn't relate to them. The civil rights organizations couldn't relate to them, but I could relate to them. So my first move into civil rights was to tell the white folks that we weren't gonna stop burning your buildings down for nothing. If you want them to stop, you're going to have to get them some jobs. You're going to have to give them a program. You're going to have to make sure that they have the proper training and everything else. And you're going to have to stop mistreating them and abusing them when you stop them on the street. So I started attacking all of the systems, the Board of Education and everybody else. And my civil rights days started there, and then my civil rights days continued until this day. We had a Mormon superintendent at that time, and he and I didn't get along. He said he wanted to prepare our children for realistic goals, to be gas station attendants, to wash dishes.
My research leads me inescapably to the opinion that the major cause of the American Negro's intellectual and social deficits is hereditary and racially genetic in origin, and thus not remediable to a major degree by practical improvements in environment.
I said, you must be out of your damn mind. I want oceanographers, I want atomic fusionists, I want physicists, I want chemists, and that's the program I'm preparing my kids for. So we had a confrontation right away. So the bottom line is, Dayton had an order to desegregate.
On the first day of school,
now I told them that to desegregate a poor black school into a poor white school was a mistake. They would prefer the poor black kids from Dunbar going to school with the poor white kids at Stivers. So the second day of school, a sister went into the school with a book under her arm called Look Out, Whitey, Black Power's gonna get your mama. And a white girl saw it and a fight broke out. So that night at the Model Cities Planning Council, the parents told me to go over there the next day and see what I could do to get things straightened out. I went over there and a fight broke out again. The white principal couldn't do anything. I pulled the kids out of school and walked them to the Board of Education and said the Board of Education needs to do something about this. They said I exceeded my authority. The end result was the Board of Education fired me.
I've been fired 3 times. And every time I've gotten a better job.
My lawyers were Gene and Edgar Kahn, who were poverty lawyers working closely with Bobby Kennedy and JFK and Sergeant Shriver. Part of what was going on at Stivers was, when I went back over there, because some other riots broke out that night, they arrested me. And that's when they say I called the cops a sack of motherfuckers, and I don't recall calling them that. But the bottom line is they put me in jail. And they said, and Judge Fisher, who was a brother, came down to get me out of jail. And I said, no, I'm not leaving until the kids are released. And the chief of police called Dr. Chapman and said, you need to get him out of here because these policemen do not like him.
The chief did not want that on his hands, that they were going to assassinate him during his administration. I went to the jail to get my time. He would not come down.
But at that point, I was real, I had the Stokely Carmichael, H. Rap Brown attitude. And I was real angry about the way they treated my people, and I halfway didn't really give a damn what went down. I'll never forget this. I was 5 years old. I was walking with my mother and my brother to the New Central Baptist Church. And I saw a tall, worn, broken, dirty, filthy black man. He had rags wrapped around his feet during the month of December. Had a real raggedy coat on. And I didn't understand it then, but I understand it now. His eyes showed that he was broken, he was beaten, he had given up. And I said, Mom, look at that old, dirty man. And my mother said, my child, had it not been for racism, had it not been for oppression, had it not been for injustice, that tall, worn, broken, dirty, filthy black man could have been the President of the United States, could have been a star basketball player, could have been the chairman of the board of General Motors. She said, my child, whenever you see someone that's suffering, whenever you see someone that's in pain, whenever you see someone that's in need, whenever you see someone that's a victim of racism and oppression, help them, my child, because that could be you were it not for the grace of God.
I know the psychiatrist says some of you young ladies want to have a baby so you can have something of your own to love and cherish. Go to Steers and Roebuck's and get you a Cabbage Patch doll. We teach the young ladies at Central State University that if a young man walks up to you and says, hey baby, how you doing? Ask him how he's doing in physics, math, chemistry, and biology. I feel like 70 is the new 30. I feel like doing pop, rock, and drop. God bless you.